Good evening, and welcome to another episode of your favorite family law talk show, Late Night Intercourse with Chioma. Your host, as always, is my humble self, Chioma Onyenucheya Uko, the Zest family lawyer. It's my pleasure to have you this evening. And yes, I think it would be right to start by saying Happy New Month. Today is the first day of the month of February, and it is only by the grace of God that we're all here tonight, that we're all here in this beautiful month of love. And I'm trusting that by the mercies of God, we're going to have a beautiful month. So I wish you the very best of the month. May the month yield to all your plans, of course, as you make the necessary efforts. Congratulations to all of us for making this new month. And, well, I had posted our topic for tonight. And yes, this is our 23rd episode of your weekly family law discussion show. And tonight, we will be discussing the subject of deceit in marriage. Yeah, deceit in marriage. The legal implications. Are there possible legal implications? Or is deceit just a game? Is it just one being smart? Is it just something someone does and it doesn't have any far-reaching consequences? What is deceit? What possible implications does it have in marriage? Well, that's what we're discussing tonight. And if you will oblige me, please tell me in the comment section whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Wherever it is you're watching us live from, please just tell me in the comment section. What do you think about deceit in marriage? And where are you watching us from? Where are you joining us from? Mind you, it's an intercourse, right? To remember? So that means we're having an intercourse, a communication, a relationship, talking to each other, understanding each other, learning from each other. So please oblige me, tell me where you're watching from and what your thoughts are on the subject of deceit in marriage. One of the popular Nigerian songs said something to the effect that everybody they do one. So it's just a game. Some people call it 419. Some people call it fraudulent acts. They call it different things. But what is deceit and what is the implication in marriage? Before we go into that, I would like for you to see a short clip that I borrowed from someone else. I do not have credits for the video we're going to show you now. We are using it only for educational purposes, and we will acknowledge the creator accordingly in the comments, in the post proper. So all copyrights reserved for the original owner of that video, and we commend that person for that brilliant production, and we're taking the lessons from it and discussing it further. So you'll be seeing a video in a moment.
This woman was sued by her husband for giving birth to ugly children. A Chinese man and father of 3 reportedly divorced and sued his wife for giving birth to ugly children in 2012. At first, he accused his wife of cheating on him because he believed that a handsome man like him and a beautiful wife like this cannot have children this ugly. But DNA tests indeed confirmed that the children belonged to him. After confronting his wife further, he eventually revealed that she underwent cosmetic surgery of over $100,000 in South Korea before they met, and that the children actually looked like her before the cosmetic surgery. After hearing this, the man apparently divorced his wife because he was catfished and then filed a lawsuit on the grounds of false pretense and false advertising, which he won and was awarded $120,000 US. Now, do you think it was fair to sue his wife for just getting cosmetic surgery?
Okay, so I'm sure that you are all amazed at that video, right? My apologies to all of you joining me from TikTok. You didn't get to see that video. My apologies. The real reason is because on TikTok, I am live with you here directly on the app. Meanwhile, on the other 4 platforms, we're projecting via a studio. So, I'm so sorry you were unable to see the video. But in summary, that video is about a man who sued for divorce against his wife because she gave birth to children who he termed ugly. I don't believe any child is ugly, but yes, I understand what he meant. So he sued his wife for giving birth to children he termed ugly. And he didn't think that between the both of them, him being handsome and she being beautiful, that they should have, that they could have had children that ugly by his own, expression. And then the court agreed with him after they found out that the wife had done cosmetic surgery. She had altered her face and become the beautiful version of herself, what she perceived was a beautiful version of herself, which the man saw, fell in love with and married, only for her genes, which of course was not altered in the course of cosmetic surgery, to now take effect when she gave birth to children for her husband. And the 2 children looked just like her. Of course, they looked like her original self. They didn't look like the amended self, the self that she achieved by cosmetic surgery. They looked like her natural self, which was a version she thought was ugly and went for cosmetic surgery. So when the court made those findings, she was granted divorce. And not only was she granted divorce, he was granted divorce, and he was also granted huge sums in compensation. She had to bear damages. She paid huge sums to him for misleading him. And in simple language, that was deceit. So that now brings us back to our topic of discussion tonight. And in answering the question what deceit is any act of fraudulence, any act of misrepresentation, any action, any behavior, any conduct that, makes an appearance of what is not true, either by the things the person says to another, or the things they do, or the appearance they project. So I'll give an example. Now we have people who think it's okay to become transgender, and they exercise the right of choice and, transfer their gender. They do a sex change. They change their gender. And in changing their gender, if anybody like that gets in a relationship, particularly gets into a marriage with another, without disclosing to this other person that they were originally of another gender, and this person believing that indeed they were getting, hooked, they were getting hitched to somebody. So I'm going to say, assuming A used to be a man, and A went and did a sex change and became a woman, and A got married to a man, without disclosing to that man that, do I say he or she now, used to be a man before the sex change. If this husband of hers finds out that she used to be a man before the sex change, that will amount to deceit. Because at the time of getting married to her, he perceived and believed that he was dealing with a natural woman, and there needed to have been full disclosure for him to make the informed choice whether it was acceptable to him, whether it was something he could live with or not. So when he is deprived of that right of informed choice, that becomes deceit. And it can manifest in many other ways. I just used one example out of many. And where deceit happens in a marriage, is it just a game? Is it just, nothing, not a big deal? Or does it have far-reaching implications? And we'll take them one by one. I would like for us to just look at about 4 implications of deceit in a marriage. The first one I would like to talk about is how it inflicts pain and hurt. It has deep emotional consequences on the victim of a deceit. The spouse, the one who has been deceived, feels hurt, feels really pained, could feel really angry that he or she has been deceived. We hear all sorts of stories. Maybe someone had a child when they were growing up, and then they get married and they don't even disclose it to their spouse. Maybe somebody misrepresents to their spouse that they are of a certain tribe when in fact they are not. It can manifest in many ways. And in any way that it does manifest, it can occasion deep pain, hurt, and anger. The victim begins to feel, that person feels really provoked. The person begins to question what they believed. The person feels really offended. Why would you lie to me about something like this? Why would you conceal something like this from me? Why would you misrepresent something like this to me? It can cause deep anger, pain, and hurt. And of course, you know that when people begin to have such feelings, such strong feelings, it may also push them to other possible, reactions, all of which I don't think will be palatable. None of it will be. Even if all they do is walk away, I'm sure that's not pleasant. So that is the first implication we're looking at, which is why it is best that all facts are laid on the table. It is a business of trust. It is a business of confidence. Coming into that expected lifelong contract of marriage should be one where each party comes in with full disclosure to show good faith, so that they will both believe that each other is coming to the table clean and sincere. So that is the first thing. The second thing will be that deceit in marriage can cause, loss of trust, betrayal. It means that the party can feel, like it will erode the trust he or she had on their spouse. And you know that once trust is eroded, there's little left in that marriage. It's difficult to respect someone you don't trust. It's difficult to love someone you don't trust. It's difficult. It's difficult to sleep with your 2 eyes shut with someone you don't trust. So deceit in marriage can lead to erosion of trust. And once trust is eroded, that marriage becomes a shadow of itself. It becomes a mockery of what it was supposed to be. It may not survive it, except the parties get help, and real fast. So it can actually occasion erosion of trust. The person loses confidence in his or her spouse. The person begins to second guess any other thing they tell them or do with them. They begin to query everything else. Everything else becomes suspicious. They don't trust anything they say. And that will be very harrowing, journey for the both of them, because no two people can work together truly without trust. So deceit in marriage can cause erosion of trust. And then it can cause alienation or desertion. You know that one of the grounds for dissolution of a marriage is desertion. Whether it is a desertion by the party who seeks for the divorce, where that party shows that the reason for the desertion was caused by the other party, or desertion by the party against whom a divorce petition is brought. So what it means is that once the party that is the respondent that has been brought to court, the party that is the deceitful one now, is the reason why that desertion happened, whether he or she was the one that actually deserted, or he or she was the one whose actions caused desertion by the victim, it becomes a valid ground for divorce under Nigerian law. So what it means is that deceit, because of the likelihood that deceit can cause alienation of spouse or desertion between the both of them, which is what our law recognizes, it can lead to divorce actually. So in this case, in the case we saw in the video, for that man to have gotten to the point where he took the wife to court and all of those, chances are that he may already have deserted the marriage before, the end of the court proceedings. From the point where he saw that these children were increasingly looking the way he didn't expect them to look as they grew, he may have just left that marriage. He may have done that. And if he shows that the reason he left was caused by the wife's deceit, it will be a valid ground for divorce. And I hope you know that when we talk about marriage in its real sense, what the law expects is that without consent, without a freely given consent, a consent that is consciously given, that marriage did not even happen at all in the first instance. The law perceives that every marriage that happened without consent in the real sense of it, to the full test of consent, that marriage is not even, you're not even talking about divorce anymore. It means that whether they spent 20 years together, they spent 3 years, whatever length of time they spent together, if all of that time was spent together because they both believed that they were married, and it turns out by events that one party did not give that consent to that marriage freely and wholly, that marriage did not happen. So we won't even be talking about a divorce. We'll be talking about a nullification. It means that they were not even married before the law, because there was no full and free consent. So, like the scenario painted, where somebody gets married to another, believing that person to be who that person turns out not to be, where he or she has been deceived. You got married to someone and the person told you, my name is, whatever, Pawpaw or Orange. My name is Orange, and I am from Kilimanjaro. And then it turns out that the person's name was not Orange at all. The person is not even from Kilimanjaro. The person deceived you. The person is not who he or she appeared to you to be, or told you he or she was, which is deceit. That marriage is not even, under Nigerian law, you won't even be talking about a dissolution. You're no longer, it's not dissolution. Unless you are being kind and you want to look at it as unreasonable behavior, which is one of the ingredients the court will want you to prove where the marriage has broken down irretrievably. But in this case, it means that the consent you gave to that marriage was not an informed consent, therefore you didn't give consent. So that marriage is null and void. That's what the law says. And the fourth thing, which is part of what I have already said, the nullification of marriage. So beyond just the desertion that may occur, which can, lead to divorce, the mere act of deceit in itself means that the consent that was obtained at the beginning of that marriage, the consent that was given when that marriage was contracted, was a consent that was given in error. It was given from a place of, not being fully seized of the truth. You were not fully aware of the truth when you gave that consent. So if you were not fully aware of the truth, you were misled, you were deceived, it was fraudulently obtained, it means that that marriage is null and void. I'm not saying that it is voidable. I'm saying that it is null. It is void. Before the law, it didn't happen. In fact, it means that if the both of the parties have lived together to the point where one party, the deceived party, died, any other person can bring an action before the court, asking the court to declare that marriage nullified, as in null, not nullified, as in null. That marriage is null and void. Make that declaration, make that pronouncement that that marriage is null and void. So if there were any rights that the surviving spouse was entitled to or ordinarily entitled to, once they can prove that that marriage was not a proper marriage, was not a valid marriage by virtue of a deceit that subsisted at the time of contracting that marriage, the law will make that declaration and that person will be deprived of those rights that he or she would have ordinarily been entitled to on the grounds of deceit. Because what deceit means is that there was no consent. And what the law means when the law says no consent means that even if that consent was given by somebody who didn't have capacity to give it, it is no consent. If that consent was given under duress, it was no consent. If that consent was given under deception, where the person was led to believe what was not true, it was no consent. So it can lead to the nullification of a marriage. So that goes to tell you that deceit is not as light as we perceive it to be, or as some of us treat it to be. Some of us say, it's just a game now. Is everything you tell him? I'm not saying you should tell your spouse everything. That's up to you. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should go pulling out all your skeletons and all of... No. But I'm saying that your spouse has a right to the full disclosure of who you are, of the truth of your person, of the truth of your identity, so that in choosing you, they choose you from a place of knowledge. They choose you willingly. They choose you understanding who you are. So it's understandable why the court, I think that court was in China, granted that dissolution of that marriage and went ahead to slam those charges. Slam those damages against the woman because she deceived the man. She deceived him. So he thought she was married to a beautiful woman in the sense of who she looked like. That's not the same thing like having a woman do her makeup and all of those, because in the course of that happening, you would have gone to remove some of the makeup, remove the hair. The man would have seen who the woman was before the marriage. But in this case, with a plastic surgery, he thought that was who she was, until events unfolded and revealed that no, that wasn't who she was. It was a face she wore without disclosing to the husband. So I hope somebody has learned a thing or two from this. I'll be checking now to see what questions or comments I will find. Oh, my apologies. Yup. Yeah, thank you very much, Ital. Thank you very much. Loveth, happy new month, my sister. Thank you. I'm glad you find this very educative and informative. Thank you very much for joining us. I haven't seen that you've told me where you're joining from, but thank you so much. Happy to have you both. That's on Facebook. I'm also checking to see. I'm checking to see other comments. Okay, this is forgive me. Anytime I come live, I don't like to ignore any comment. I don't like to skip any question, because it is in the interaction that I'm able to, we get truly enlightened. I answer the questions, I clear whatever doubts and confusion, and we are better able to learn. So let's see if there are any questions on Instagram, because I didn't see a question there. That we have people joining us, but I didn't see that I have any question from them. Thank you very much to all of you joining us on Instagram. Thank you. Do we have a question on Twitter? Let's check and see if there's any question that we need to quickly respond to. Is there any question that we need to quickly respond to? Whoa. I can't find. Okay, I only just see commendations here. Yeah, okay. I don't see a question, and I don't know how this works on TikTok, but I also don't see a question. I just see lots of people joining us, lots of people here. Thank you all so much for joining. Thank you. But I do not see that I have any question here. So I think that means that I was clear enough. You understood what deceit is in marriage and its possible implications in a marriage. Of course, the implications I've mentioned are not exhaustive. It means that there could be other implications. But having learned some of this, I think the important thing for us to take away is that as much as we can, we should endeavor to not deceive our partner or our intending, such that when we get into the union of marriage, we get into that union from a place of, we both fully accept each other and give consent to that union well informed, not because we have been deceived. There are cases of maybe women who are pregnant and they conceal the fact of that pregnancy, or they deceive their spouse, their suitor, to believe that he is the father of that child, and then they get into marriage. And after marriage, it is discovered that the man is not the true father of that child. That is deceit. That can be a ground not just to dissolve that marriage, but actually to nullify it, because it means that marriage was entered into by fraud. Do you understand? So let's take away these lessons, and this is in hopes that we will continue to thrive, even as our relationships, our marriages thrive. Because when our marriages succeed, when our marriages thrive, when our marriages are healthy, the rest of the society is healthy. It impacts on the rest of us. So, as always, thank you very much for joining tonight's episode, and I'm looking forward to having you join me again next week, Thursday at 10 p.m. for another episode of the Late Night Intercourse with Choma. I see that someone is, okay, let's see. Let's just allow maybe a few seconds. Good evening, Cross. How are you?
Evening. How are you doing now?
Very well, thank you. You're welcome to joining me live tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately, the rest of the people who are joining us from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter cannot see you, but I hope they can hear you. So I imagine that you want to lend a contribution. There's something you want to say on the topic we're discussing?
Oh, okay. This is not like a request. This is like a co-host. So I never was really with you, like in your life, while you talked about the whole thing you talked about.
Okay, you didn't hear what we discussed?
No, I wasn't there. Like I just sent what's it called, a co-host invite.
Okay.
It's not like a request.
Oh, my apologies.
Like I wasn't in your life. So
yes.
it. Yeah, so there are 2 ways to join people's life. It's either you co-host with them or you go in their life and send a request. You get so.
Okay.
I didn't come in your life, so I probably will not know what you guys have been talking about.
Okay. So forgive me. I'm still trying to get a hang of some of these things, particularly on TikTok. So I didn't know how that functions, but I keep seeing people inviting. Okay, somebody is also saying he or she wants to join as a guest. Will that be the same thing with you just joining me now?
So if someone has to join as a guest, I will have to drop.
Okay, before the person can come on.
Probably come in your life, able to before so as it is now, the way I joined now, nobody can come up.
Oh, I get.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
so I didn't
touch myself and probably come in your life. Then I'll send a request. Then you permit me to join, or you approve me to join.
Okay. Can we try that so that I can take those who have questions on the? We've been discussing deceit in marriage, the legal implications. So having spoken for over 20 minutes, I imagine people have questions they want to ask, so that I clarify whatever doubts or confusion.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, we keep learning and improving by the day. So yes, I've learned that one now. So, but I was saying that this brings us to the end of tonight's conversation. Since I haven't seen any question, I imagine that you all understood me and that we're going to go into our marriages, our relationships in good faith, being sincere to one another, to each other, such that the union is healthy and sincere. So I wish you a beautiful weekend here starting from tomorrow, and I hope that the month of February fully yields to your expectations and your desires. May your relationships and your marriages thrive. See you next week Thursday at 10 p.m. for another enlightening episode of your favorite family law talk show, Late Night Intercourse with Choma. As always, your host, Choma Onyenucheya Uko, the Zest family lawyer, signing out and bidding you good night. Bye-bye.